Donald Edward Fickey Jr., a beloved father and brother from Walker County, Georgia's life transformed into a tragic mystery. The unanswered questions surrounding the circumstances of his demise and the dramatic developments that unfolded years later revealed a path toward justice. Donald Edward Fickey Jr., born on November 14, 1988, grew up in Walker County, Georgia. He was commonly referred to as DJ by those close to him. Described as a gentle and loving brother, DJ shared a special bond with his sister, Amanda Shirley. He was a devoted father to his 3 children. In 2016, Marshall Payne called 911 to report the tragic shooting of his roommate, 28-year-old Donald Fickey. Speaking to the emergency dispatcher, Marshall claimed that he had attempted to take the gun away from DJ, but during the struggle, it went off. When the police arrived at the scene, DJ was found deceased from a gunshot wound in his home. Despite the circumstances, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation (GBI) medical examiner initially ruled that DJ took his own life. This conclusion, however, did not sit well with his family. DJ's sister, Amanda Shirley, and others close to him felt strongly that the ruling was wrong. They argued that DJ would never take his own life, especially given how much he loved his 3 children and family. Adding to their suspicions, DJ's family believed that his demise was not an accident, but rather something far more sinister. They accused Marshall Payne of being involved in his demise. According to the family, DJ and Marshall had been entangled in a love triangle involving DJ's wife, Brandy. This complicated relationship, they claimed, was at the heart of the tragedy. The family suspected that Marshall had a motive to slay DJ, driven by jealousy and conflict over Brandy. For the next 4 years, Amanda and the rest of DJ's family tirelessly fought to have the case re-examined. They believed that the truth about what happened that day had not yet been uncovered, and they continued to pressure the authorities to take another look at the evidence. Their persistence eventually paid off. In 2020, officials from the GBI reopened DJ's case and conducted a second review of his autopsy. After further examination, the cause of demise was updated from him taking his own life to undetermined, a small victory for the family, but far from the full closure they sought. DJ's family, determined to find justice for his demise, decided to take matters into their own hands. They hired private investigator Eric Eccles, renowned for his work on the Tanya Craft case over a decade ago. Eccles' reputation for uncovering overlooked details in difficult cases gave the family hope that he could help uncover the truth about DJ's demise. The family believed that the initial investigation had failed to provide real answers and hoped that Eccles would find the evidence necessary to bring closure and justice. In 2020, while Eccles was investigating the case, Walker County Sheriff Steve Wilson was questioned about whether his office would consider reopening the investigation now that DJ's cause of demise had been changed from him taking his own life to undetermined. Sheriff Wilson stated that simply updating the manner of demise was not enough to warrant reopening the case. He made it clear that unless new evidence emerged, the sheriff's office would not take further action. However, despite this initial position, the department later reconsidered. The persistence of DJ's family and the work of Eccles paid off. Over time, new evidence began to surface, prompting the authorities to take another look at the case. Eventually, the sheriff's office decided to reopen the investigation. This renewed effort, combined with the GBI's re-examination of the evidence, brought forth crucial developments that had been missed during the initial investigation. The uncovering of these new details shifted the trajectory of the case entirely. In June 2023, after years of fighting for the truth, DJ's family saw a significant breakthrough. Marshall Payne, the man who had initially called 911 on the day of DJ's demise, was indicted and charged with slaying in connection to the case. The GBI's reinvestigation, along with the newly discovered evidence, led to Payne's indictment. This was a major step toward justice for DJ's family, who had long believed that DJ's demise was not the result of him ending his own life, but rather a calculated act of violence. DJ's sister, Amanda, said in a Facebook post, "7 long and hard years later, my fight was not in vain. All my hard work and never giving up paid off, and I upheld my promise to my brother that I would not stop." Faye Grinstead, a beloved teacher from Ocilla, Georgia, mysteriously disappeared on October 22, 2005. She could touch an entire community through her passion for teaching and dedication to her students. Imagine the heartbreak when the search for answers, after nearly 12 years, led to betrayal by people she once knew. Faye Grinstead was born on November 14, 1974, in Hawkinsville, Georgia, to Bill and Faye Grinstead. She grew up in a supportive family alongside her sibling, Anita Grinstead, who was an important part of her life. Tara's charisma and dedication were evident from a young age, leading her to win the title of Miss Tifton in 1999. This achievement opened doors for her, allowing her to compete in the prestigious Miss Georgia beauty pageant. The winnings from these competitions, along with other pageants she entered, played a crucial role in funding her education. Tara pursued higher education diligently, graduating from Middle Georgia College in Cochran before earning a master's degree in education from Valdosta State University in 2003. With her degrees in hand, she embarked on a teaching career that began in 1998 when she accepted a position teaching history at Irwin County High School in Ocilla. Her passion for teaching and her commitment to her students made her a beloved figure in the school community. Tara's enthusiasm for education inspired many young minds, and her dedication was recognized by both colleagues and students alike. However, Tara's life took an unexpected turn on October 22, 2005, when she mysteriously disappeared. The night before her disappearance, Tara attended a beauty pageant where she served as a coach for young contestants, showcasing her dedication to the success of her students. Following the pageant, she also attended a barbecue, enjoying the company of friends and community members. This evening seemed entirely ordinary, with no indication that anything was amiss. By Monday morning, October 24th, Tara failed to report for work. Her coworkers, knowing her reliability and dedication, immediately sensed something was wrong when she did not show up. Alarmed by her unexplained absence, they contacted the police, who then went to check her home. When officers arrived, they found Tara's cell phone inside her house and her car parked outside. However, her purse and keys were missing, a troubling sign that suggested she might have left in a hurry or under unusual circumstances. The Ocilla police, recognizing the seriousness of the situation, called in the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, right away. The local authorities felt that the case was beyond their resources, and they wanted the expertise of a larger investigative body to handle what they feared could be a more complex situation. As the GBI began their investigation, they meticulously searched Tara's home for any signs of forced entry or a struggle. However, no evidence of either was found. The lack of visible clues only deepened the mystery, adding to the growing fear that Tara's disappearance was not a simple case of someone deciding to leave town. Despite the extensive search efforts by law enforcement and the involvement of the GBI, the investigation struggled to gain traction. Numerous searches were conducted, and the case drew significant media attention, but concrete leads remained elusive. The community, desperate for answers, organized their own efforts, clinging to the hope of finding Tara safe. Yet, despite all the efforts and resources put into the search, the case began to lose momentum, and eventually it went cold. In 2008, Tara Grinstead's case gained renewed attention when it was featured on CBS's 48 Hours Mystery. The program highlighted the similarities between Tara's disappearance and the case of Jennifer Kessa, a young woman who vanished in Orlando, Florida, just 3 months later. The comparison brought Tara's case back into the spotlight, rekindling interest and hope for new leads. It reminded many that her mysterious disappearance remained unsolved, and there were still unanswered questions about what had happened to her. As part of the renewed focus on the case, the authorities disclosed a crucial piece of evidence: DNA found on a latex glove in Tara's yard. However, despite the promise that this discovery held, the DNA did not lead to any immediate breakthroughs. Analysis confirmed that the DNA belonged to a man, but his identity remained unknown. Investigators compared the DNA sample to numerous individuals connected to Tara, but no matches were found. Even after entering the sample into both Georgia's and national databases, it yielded no new information, leaving investigators and Tara's loved ones frustrated. A significant breakthrough finally came on February 23, 2017, when the Georgia Bureau of Investigation announced the arrest of Ryan Alexander Duke for Tara's slaying. Ryan had attended Irwin County High School, where Tara taught, a few years prior to her disappearance. According to the warrants presented in court, Ryan was allegedly in the process of burglarizing Tara's home when she caught him in the act. In response, he strangled her and removed her body from the house. This revelation shocked the community, which had waited for years for answers, only to learn that the crime was committed by someone who had once been a part of their local school community. Shortly thereafter, on March 3, 2017, another arrest followed, revealing that Ryan did not act alone. Bo Dukes, a former classmate of Ryan Duke, was charged with attempting to conceal Tara's demise, obstructing justice, and tampering with evidence. A woman named Brooke Sheridan came forward to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. She said her boyfriend, Bo Dukes, told her that he had helped his friend, Ryan Duke, cover up Tara's slaying. Bo's connection to the case stunned many, particularly Tara's sister, Anita Gaddis, who had known Bo's family for years, but never imagined he could be involved. The community, already grappling with the shocking news of Tara's life ending, then had to contend with the fact that another familiar face had played a role in covering up her demise. The arrests of Ryan Duke and Bo Dukes brought long-awaited answers, but also deepened the tragedy of Tara's story. On February 21, 2017, Bo sat down for an interview with the GBI and told them that in October 2005, Ryan came to him saying he had taken Tara's life and dumped her body in a pecan orchard that Bo's family owned. Bo said that together, he and Ryan burned the body there in the orchard over the period of 2 days. The trial of Bo Dukes began on March 19, 2019. After 3 days of court proceedings, he was found guilty on March 22, 2019. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for attempting to conceal Tara's demise, obstructing justice, and tampering with evidence. This verdict marked a significant moment in the case, as it brought accountability to at least one of the individuals involved in the events following Tara's tragic disappearance. Ryan Duke, the man accused of taking the life of Tara, was initially set to go on trial on April 1, 2019. However, his trial faced a setback when, on March 28, 2019, the Georgia Supreme Court delayed proceedings. This decision came after Ryan's defense team argued that they had been unconstitutionally denied funds necessary to secure expert witnesses for his defense. After a prolonged delay, Ryan's trial eventually began on May 9, 2022, more than 16 years after Tara's disappearance. The delay in bringing Ryan to trial added to the emotional toll on Tara's family, who had already endured years of waiting for justice. When the trial finally commenced, Ryan pleaded not guilty to the charges of slaying. During his testimony, he shifted the blame onto Bo, alleging that Bo was the one responsible for Tara's demise. This unexpected turn in Ryan's defense strategy presented a different narrative from the one initially heard when he was arrested. He said he was afraid of his former friend, so he gave a false confession. As the proceedings unfolded, the jury was faced with conflicting accounts of what had truly happened on that fateful day in 2005, further complicating an already convoluted case. On May 20th, 2022, the jury reached its verdict. Ryan was found not guilty of slaying, aggravated assault, and burglary. However, he was convicted of concealing Tara's demise. The verdict came as a surprise to many who had expected a different outcome. Given Ryan's initial confession, the court's decision left Tara's family and the community with mixed emotions. There was some measure of accountability, but not the full justice they had hoped for. It also left lingering doubts and questions about who was ultimately responsible for Tara's tragic fate. 3 days later, on May 23, 2022, Ryan was sentenced to the maximum penalty of 10 years in prison for the charge of concealing a demise. The sentence was a bittersweet conclusion to a case that had left the community in Ocilla, Georgia, deeply affected for nearly 2 decades. While Ryan's conviction for concealing Tara's demise brought some closure, the fact that he was acquitted of the more serious charges meant that the true circumstances of Tara's demise remained, to some extent, shrouded in mystery. After Ryan was arrested, his attorney filed a gag order, and Anita Grinstead Gaddis, Tara's sister, says that is not okay with her. She said, "I had never heard either one of those names until after Ryan was arrested. I'm sorry, but you want to protect the rights of the person who has been arrested over the rights of my sister." She added, "I am thankful, but I am also heartbroken because this is not the outcome I wanted. Some part of me hoped that my sister was going to be alive, but I now know that this is not the case." A young nursing student, Holly Lynn Bobo, disappeared in April 2011 in Tennessee. It marked the beginning of a journey for truth and justice that would span years. Holly Lynn Bobo was born on October 12, 1990, in the United States, where she grew up in a loving and supportive family. As a 20-year-old nursing student at the University of Tennessee at Martin Parsons Center, Holly was dedicated to her studies and aspiring to make a difference in the world of healthcare. She lived with her parents and brother in the small town of Darden. Her friends often described her as shy and sweet. Holly also shared a familial connection to the entertainment world as the cousin of country singer Whitney Duncan, adding another layer to her life. On the morning of April 13, 2011, Holly awoke at 4:30 a.m. to study for an upcoming exam. By 7:30 a.m., she answered a call from her boyfriend, Drew Scott, who was turkey hunting nearby on her grandmother's property. At this point, Holly's parents had already left for work, and her brother, Clint, was still asleep. 12 minutes later, Holly made her final cell phone call. After this moment, all subsequent phone calls and texts went unanswered, leaving those close to her anxious and concerned. Shortly after Holly's last phone call, a neighbor reported hearing a scream coming from the Bobo residence. The neighbor quickly informed her mother, Karen, who was at work, about the disturbing noise. Karen attempted to call Holly's phone, but there was no response. Meanwhile, her brother, Clint, was awakened by the family dogs barking and looked outside to see Holly outside with a man dressed in camouflage. Initially believing the man to be Drew, he observed them kneeling in the garage, engaged in a heated conversation. Clint noted that Holly appeared upset, responding to the man as he did most of the talking, leading him to suspect that the couple might have been breaking up. As tensions escalated, Karen called home again, advising Clint that the man outside was not Drew and urged him to get a gun. However, Clint remained convinced that it was his sister's boyfriend. In a frantic attempt to alert authorities, Karen dialed 911, but due to calling from her workplace, she accidentally reached the dispatcher for the wrong county. Looking outside once more, Clint saw the man walking with Holly into the nearby woods. At this point, he noticed that the man was larger than Drew, deepening his concern. Despite his attempts to reach both Holly's and Drew's cell phones, he received no answer. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Clint ultimately called 911 as instructed by his mother. After fetching a loaded pistol, he went outside and discovered bloodstains, possibly belonging to Holly, in the garage. He dialed 911 again, and the police arrived at the Bobo residence within 10 minutes, prompted by Clint's urgent reports. As the investigation began, cell phone pings indicated that Holly's phone was moving away from her home tower, heading north. The last known ping from her phone showed it traveling toward a wooded area near Interstate 40. Holly's cell phone remained stationary for about 20 to 30 minutes before it began moving south again via a different route. The investigation soon revealed that the final cell phone ping originated from the area where both the phone and its SIM card would later be found. This crucial piece of evidence set the stage for a prolonged search for Holly and raised serious questions about her fate. leading investigators to uncover the tragic reality of her disappearance. Karen was so hysterical that a friend drove her home. When she got there, Karen started running through the woods, calling her daughter's name, but she was nowhere to be found. Karen's husband, Dana Bobo, also raced home, and neighbors and law enforcement had descended onto their home, canvassing the area for clues. Clint said that suspicion quickly turned to him as the police asked him to remove his shirt to check for scratches or anything else, indicating he had gone into the woods with her. Clint said, "I was just shocked that they are looking at me. To me, it is common sense if I am here and Holly is somewhere else. Then obviously I have nothing to do with it." The authorities have also said that they were suspicious of Clint for a while because they said he kept changing his story from what he saw that morning. But Clint claims he was just trying to remember as many additional details as possible. He did, however, provide an account of the man he had seen with his sister. He described the individual as standing between 5 feet 10 inches and 6 feet tall, weighing approximately 180 to 200 pounds. Clint noted that the man had dark hair peeking out from beneath his cap, long enough to touch his collar. Clad in camouflage from head to toe, Clint identified the pattern as either mossy oak breakup or leafy wear. He also recalled the man's voice, describing it as deep and low, which added to the unsettling nature of his recollections. In the days following Holly's disappearance, extensive searches were launched in the surrounding area, aiming to uncover any evidence that might lead to her whereabouts. Several of Holly's personal items were found scattered throughout the town, including her lunchbox, a receipt with her name on it, a school card, and both her cell phone and the SIM card, which had been removed. The discovery of these belongings heightened fears for her safety and underscored the urgency of the investigation. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI, quickly focused on a registered offender named Terry Britt, who matched the description provided by Clint. Britt's home was subjected to wiretaps and searches during the investigation. Yet, despite the scrutiny, he was never charged in connection with Holly's case. This lack of concrete evidence left investigators grappling with frustration as they sought to unravel the mystery of her disappearance. In September 2014, nearly 3 years after she vanished, ginseng hunters made a grim discovery in a wooded area of northern Decatur County, Tennessee, just off Interstate 40 and nearly 20 miles from Darden. The property owner remarked that it was not unusual for people to hunt there without permission, raising questions about how the remains had gone unnoticed for so long. Upon investigation, the authorities recovered significant remains, including Holly's skull, teeth, several ribs, and one shoulder blade. Tragically, her skull revealed a bullet hole in the back, with the trajectory indicating it had exited through her left cheekbone. This shocking detail confirmed the worst fears of her family and investigators, transitioning the case into a slaying investigation. 6 men were arrested in connection with the slaying of Holly, but only 3 faced prosecutions. Most arrests were based on a confession from John Dylan Adams, a man with an intellectual disability, who claimed to have seen Holly with his brother Zach and friend Jason Autry shortly after her kidnapping. Dylan, Zach, and Jason were charged with especially aggravated kidnapping, first-degree slaying, and assault. Of the other 3 arrested, 2 had charges dropped, while 1 ended his own life without facing charges. The investigation has faced significant setbacks, including one of the suspects' demise, changes in the prosecutorial team, and disputes with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI. The prosecution was criticized for failing to present evidence, missing discovery target dates, and frequently altering charges without explanation. Tensions escalated to the point where the TBI withdrew its services after the prosecutor accused the agency of compromising the case. Defense attorneys revealed they had not received essential case details more than a year after the arrests, leading to motions to dismiss charges due to a lack of transparency. It was not until July 2015 that the defendants accessed the evidence against them. On September 22, 2017, a jury found Zach guilty of first-degree slaying, resulting in a life sentence plus 50 years, which he maintains was unjust. At the sentencing, Karen Bobo was given the chance to address the jurors and Zach Adams. She said she wanted him to see her face. She said, "I told him, I 100% believe she fought, and fought hard, and then probably begged for her life. We showed him mercy, but I am sure my daughter begged for her life, and he showed her no mercy." In January 2018, Dylan accepted an Alford plea, receiving a 35-year sentence. Jason took a plea deal to testify against Zach, leading to his release on September 16, 2020, after serving 8 years. Jason testified, "It sounded like boom, boom, boom underneath that bridge. It was just one shot, but it echoed. Birds went everywhere, all up under that bridge. Then, just silence for just a second." After his release, Jason recanted his testimony against Zach, stating he aligned his statements with newly available evidence. In January 2024, Zach filed a petition to overturn his conviction based on this recantation, but it remains under review. Holly's parents had the following to say: "The world will miss out on one of the sweetest souls I have ever known in my life. I feel that still a part of us is missing, and I feel it is always going to be that way."